the release of this video is putting a spotlight on the handling of domestic violence cases. CBS News legal analyst Rikki Klieman is with us now. She has prosecuted cases of sexual and physical assault and joins us at the table. Joan Didion has a great line in one of her books that says, "We tell ourselves stories in order to live." And I wonder in some ways if that is what Janae is doing. We know that the prosecutors saw that tape.
Yes, so, they did.
So the fact that they saw that tape, the big question is, how is he not in jail and only got probation?
Well, in certain ways, it's hard to believe. He was actually treated potentially more harshly by the prosecutors. Most of these cases come into a prosecutor's office. They come in as simple assault. They get pretrial intervention or an equivalent. His went to a grand jury. He was indicted for aggravated assault. But what he did, according to the rules, was apply to be in pretrial intervention. His then fiancée became his wife. So by May 20th, when his application was approved for pretrial intervention, it was the usual course of events.
But there's a lot of outrage at the NFL commissioner. What about the prosecutor?
Well, I think there is outrage at the prosecutor. In fact, there are lawmakers in New Jersey now who are going forward who say they want to make it mandatory that anyone accused of domestic violence cannot be put in pretrial intervention. I say that that would be really a difficult idea to have it go forward and even to enforce. What are you doing when you're trying to protect a victim and the victim says, this has never happened before, and please don't ruin my life?
Okay. But the problem with that tape, though, at one point he even sort of kicks her legs. He just drops her like a sack of potatoes. There is nothing like an, oh my God, what have I done to you? Do you think that prosecutors were overly reliant on her saying, look, it's okay, it got out of hand? At one point, she even apologized for her role in that.
Which, by the way, is often the case of the victim of domestic violence, that a victim of domestic violence takes responsibility, feels shame, and says, it's my fault. But the prosecutor here, who is being criticized, can simply say, if you look at the records in our courthouse, and by the way, same thing across the United States. We handled him the way we would handle anyone else. Now, does that mean it's right? Not necessarily so. Should we look at domestic violence 20 years later like we did in O.J. Simpson and say, maybe we need to do something about this? The answer, of course, is yes.
And Rikki, just quickly, because the commissioner told me that they could not get their hands on this second videotape because it was in the hands of law enforcement and that they couldn't get it from the casino because that would be illegal. Is that true?
Well, they cannot get it from law enforcement once it becomes evidence in a grand jury. In terms of getting it from the casino, well, we don't really know if they could or couldn't because the casino may have said they would. Goodell said he didn't go for it.
And the casino's out of business as of now.
Well, I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah. Thank you, Rikki.